Hi everybody, it's Andy here again with another one of my instructional videos. This one's all about how to do part 2 of the Careers Fair control task, which is where you have to do some research on your own, ready to present to other members of your class later on in the task. So if you're watching this video, then you've already done part 1 of the control task, so well done there, and it's time to move on to part 2. In part 1 you created folders and started planning, and part 2 is individual work again and is basically preparation for later on in the task when you'll work in a small team to design and display monitors to promote the Careers Fair. I've opened the control task here on page 1, but before we go any further I'd like you to, just gone down to page 3 there, just take some time now to remind yourself of the details of the scenario, which is the story behind the task, and the overview. There we are, back on page 3. So pause the video there and just remind yourself about the scenario and the overview very, very carefully, and then come back to the video. So you should now have reminded yourself about scenario and the overview and be very familiar with those. So I'm going to move on now to the next page of the task, that's page 4, which contains part 1, which you've already done, and part 2. So pause the video now and take a couple of minutes to read through part 2 in your own time, just to begin to get a feel for it, and then come back to the video. Now, if you've read the scenario and overview very carefully, you'll know that you'll be creating a slideshow video or other multimedia presentation later on in the task. So you're going to go looking for stuff that would look good on display monitors, like this one that you see in schools and colleges and all over the place, and which would promote the Careers Fair really well. So I'm back on page 4 now of the control task, and I've zoomed in on part 2. And there you see it's made of 3 parts. It has 3 parts to it. In part 2.1, you'll go ahead in a second now and research and record, that is collect information about your college, that is Coleg Ceredigion, images, information, etc., like that, location, for your team to look at later on in the task and decide with other members of the team that have done the same thing which bits they're going to use to actually display on the display boards, on the display screens. Might be some of yours and some of somebody else's in the group. You'll then do the same for careers that may interest young people and examples of advertising from other careers fairs in other schools and other colleges, including the type of information they provide. So there's a list there in 2.1 of the things you have to research. Now, as you do the research, you also have to bear in mind 2.2. You need good evidence of the searches that you did as well. This is very important. You won't get credit for the control task if you just provide the information that you found, the images that you found, the information that you found, and so on. You have to have screenshot evidence showing the keywords and phrases that you used. A little bit like this. A screenshot of the search there. You can see the search that I've done and the information that I got that led me to find images and information, in this case about Coleg Ceredigion. So I'm back here with the task itself, and just to show you that then for 2.3 there's something else you have to take into consideration as you carry out your research, and that is make sure that you present your findings in a way that is clear for your team to understand later on. So in summary then, this is what you have to do for part 2. First of all, in an appropriate folder on your OneDrive, create a Word document with a suitable name. Then you go and research the subjects in 2.1, get evidence of the stuff you find but also the searches you did, and record all your research findings in the file you made in OneDrive there in the first bullet of this list. And finally, make sure that as you're doing your research, you're presenting everything in a format, everything in a way that is clear for your team to understand later on. Always keep that in mind, that everything you find will, in the next part of the task, in a later part of the task, be shown to other members of a team that you'll be put in, and they'll be choosing which bits of your work to use. You'll be choosing which bits of their work to use, and as a team you'll decide what is going to go on the display board in the end. And so that's the end of this instructional video, all about how to carry out part 2 of the careers fair control task. You should now go and have a go at it. Have a look at the video again if you need to, pause it, rewind it, etc. until you're really clear about what you have to do. You can even go back to it as you're carrying out the research to make sure you're covering everything. And do your very best on it. If you have any problems, let me know. Don't be shy. And good luck with it and have fun. I'll see you on the next video.